Hi, Mandy.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Honest answer. I like that. Um, well, I am so excited after all of our super long WhatsApp voice memos that we have sent back and forth to each other to finally be talking to you here on the Divine Dialogues.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've ever actually spoken at the same time to each other,
I know
isn't it?
there's a little bit of a difference when you can actually go back and forth. So I think this is going to be good.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Oh, who I am. I am a happily married mother of four. We have four children under the age of 10 that are all about 2 years apart. So we're grateful to be out of the whole diaper situation and potty training situation and naps and stuff. And we're actually like almost able to be real people with real lives and just take the kids and do fun things. Um, I am also somewhat crafty on occasion. I like to learn about all different things and read kind of out there stuff sometimes and stuff.
Yes.
I'm a
You,
regular person.
yes, and you're someone who knows a lot about a lot of different things and who has given me a lot of amazing book recommendations.
I am a little bit of like a jack of all trades, master of none sort of a person. Yes. I know a lot of things that are random.
Yes. So, what are some of the recent things that you've been reading or thinking about or getting inspired by?
Recent. Recent. I've actually been listening to Eamon and Beck's Reroute podcast lately. Um, Eamon and Beck have a YouTube channel. They're Canadian van lifers. If you don't follow them, you should because they're super cute, super funny. Their videos are so well done. But a while back, they started a podcast. And so it's like at the very, very beginning. And so I'm sort of like throwing back and kind of listening to things in the past to catch up with real life. Um, but I'm listening to that while I've been cutting the grass and stuff like that. Um, and then also I've been listening to, I just finished EK and that was cool. And so now I am listening to Loving What Is. I don't typically read books. I just listen to them as I do random things. So EK was really cool. I didn't get a chance to do any of the actual work yet because I'm just listening to it. So I have to go back and listen to it and write the things down to actually be able to do the meditations and actually try the stuff. So sometimes what I do with books that are self-help ish is I have to listen to it through once and then go back and listen again so that I can take notes and then actually do it.
Yes.
Or sometimes I
So,
just have to break it down and actually buy the book.
right. So, of course, EK being Existential Kink by Carolyn Elliott, which I've talked about quite a lot on my YouTube channel. So, what were some of your takeaways from it? And like, did you find it very different than sort of any kind of philosophy you had encountered before, or what were your
Uh, so I don't read a ton of philosophy. I'm sort of new in that game. And so it was really cool to look at things through a different perspective. And a lot of it made sense. I mean, I've um I guess years ago with my direct marketing business, I guess I have a direct sales business too. Years ago with that, I did a uh like a training where I don't even remember what it was called, but it was probably called training your brain. I think that's what it was called. And so it was all talking about, positive thinking and how what you think about is what you see because that's how your brain works. When it wants to find something, that's what it will find, which is why, when you buy a new car and you think, oh, nobody has this car in this color. And then as soon as you drive off the lot, you see them everywhere. Or like when you name a child and you think like, oh, it's, it's such a unique name. And then everybody, has somebody related to them with that name that you never knew before. So I've done like some of the, I read and I understand some of the kind of positivity, kind of, what you seek, you find kind of stuff. And so a lot of what she said resonated with that. And it was cool to actually listen to it because she was the one reading it. I love listening to books when the author is the one reading it because it just is such a better experience, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it wasn't like super far out there. And there were things that could be tied together with things I had read before. But definitely some of the concepts were like, wait, what? Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to think about that one. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get to that soon. But I'm excited about it. I mean, it seems like logically, it seems like a thing that would work fine. So I'm gonna give it a go and see what happens. Maybe make some progress on some issues that I haven't quite come to, let go of completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think so much of, what I understand about a lot of therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, or like the Sedona method, or Byron Katie's 4 questions, or whatever, it's just like, can you reframe this somehow? And like
mhm,
the reframe that existential kink offers being like, well, if this is occurring in your life, then at least on some unconscious level, aka that you're
yep,
not consciously aware of, like, you desire this in some kinky, like, weird way. And even so, again, it's like, I don't know if it matters so much if that's like totally true, as like that moment of reframe where just for
yeah,
a second you can be like, could that be possible?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Reframing is such a good tool to have. I have a lot of or had in the past a lot of negative self-talk that would just sort of like bounce around in my head. Um, and I had a lot of anxiety, not a lot, comparatively speaking, but a lot for me. And actually got one of those piercings in my ear to alleviate that. And
oh,
it worked amazingly well, like freakishly well. Um, I can't, I think it's called a rook. So it's not like the part of your ear right here. It's like in here, you can like barely see it, but like instant. So I went to the piercer and I said, this is what I want. And I know like the I think it's the daith. The daith is for can help with migraines, right? The one that's like right on the, anyway.
I didn't know that. This
And this
is
other
all
one, oh
news
yeah.
to me.
Oh yeah. There's the oh, I don't have my phone. There's a yeah, you can get just Google a picture of, I'll send it to you, but um you can look, there's pictures on the internet where it will show you an ear and all the different piercings, and they're marked out for all the different things that they're good for with all their different names. And so there's a specific piercing that you can get to help with migraines because it has to do with like Eastern medicine, acupuncture, pressure points and stuff. And so the one that I got is for anxiety. And I didn't have like anxiety attacks or like major, debilitating issues. I just always, ever since I had kids, prior to having kids, I had no problems at all. But ever since having kids, I had like this irrational, like pit of my stomach worry all the time, just like constantly uncomfortable tummy. And I was just tired of it, almost like, 10 years later. And so I got this piercing and I told the person at the tattoo shop, like, look, this is why I want it. And she was kind of like, look, I can't guarantee that that's going to work. But instantly, I mean, it hurt. And after the ow went away, instantly that feeling left and has only been back twice in like the last 2 years. And both times it was like a valid reason. And I was worried enough that it had just like counteracted, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so it took me from like, whatever, arresting 6.5 to 0. And then once I had this like actual pressing issue, I was at like maybe a 3 for like a day. And then the issue subsided and I felt better and my stomach was good. So anyway, part of wanting the piercing was also sort of to lessen the anxiety, and also to kind of get rid of, like, at the same time I was working on some of that negative self-talk. And it's just, yeah, it's such a great tool to have, because anytime, day or night, whatever you're doing, to just be able to flip the script is just refreshing. It's like, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't have to be that way, or that doesn't have to be true, or maybe I wasn't looking at it right. And like, every person has their own experiences, right? They view every single situation uniquely because of what they've been through, what they've seen, what they think, how they were raised, whatever. And so just to be able to change that, to have it, make more sense to you, is just a cool thing.
Huge. So I mean, that's exactly it. I don't know if you've heard of Byron Katie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm listening to Loving What Is now.
Oh, so that's why I thought that was, I haven't actually read any of her full books, but I use her 4 questions all the time, because question number 1, of course, is like, is this true? Yep. Is this absolutely true? And you pretty much can't say anything is absolutely true. So it kind of like stops you there.
Yeah. And she's got so many videos online also that are also helpful. It's like her working through things with people. And so in the book, not since you haven't read it, in the book, she actually gives all sorts of examples. But then also I went to YouTube and found some of her just like interviewing people. Some of them are really recent.
That is so
really cool.
Helpful. And how did you learn about the piercing thing? I have never heard anything like that before.
Oh, really? I don't know. I know weird things about weird things. I don't know how I learned about it. I probably Facebook, right? Because people learn everything on Facebook. Somebody says something and then you're like, wait, what? And then you go and sort of research it, and then you know the thing. Yeah, probably some Facebook group. Somebody probably randomly posted it, and with the little picture with all the different piercings. And then I asked somebody, yeah, that's what it was. So somebody posted it, and then I asked somebody that I knew had one, and I said, like, did it actually help you? And a couple people said yes. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna go do that. So then I did.
That is, yeah, well, and then like, it's an experiment on yourself. I mean, the worst that happens is you take it out. The best that happens is what happened to you. Yeah,
I figured, it was a couple bucks, but yeah, no harm.
Yeah,
I am a big believer in doing things for ourselves when we can. Like healing your body with food, or doing acupuncture instead of taking medicines, or going for a jog instead of taking antidepressants, or like, whatever. Obviously there are medications that are designed for a reason, that have valid purposes. But I think this country as a whole is just over medicated. And so I tend to like shy away from some of that and want to lean more towards Eastern kind of stuff. Like right now, my 3 of my 4 children have really bad allergies, thanks to my husband and his side of the family. I don't have hardly any allergies at all, so they're all his fault. But I talked to some allergists, and I said, like, they have some food sensitivities and they have some seasonal allergies, and what do we do? And it was like, well, one person said you can talk to a pediatric GI person for the food stuff, and then you have to talk to an allergist for the seasonal stuff. And the pediatric GI is going to tell you to go on like an elimination diet and figure out exactly what it is. And the allergist is going to probably give them shots to, counteract it. And also they'll probably have to do that like poke test where they like put all the different things on your back. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want to do that to my kids. They're still little. And then I found this other person who's an acupuncturist, and her whole practice is relieving allergies through acupuncture. And so it's kind of like along the same, like, as I'm learning about like energy work and like that whole scene, then this woman is like, oh yeah, basically what she said is, I go, so my kids go into the office. Do you know about maybe it's just called body work?
Yeah.
I do call body work, where like, or muscle
Muscle testing?
Muscle testing. Yeah, where you
Uh-huh.
stick your arm up in the air.
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. Big time.
Super weird thing that doesn't make any sense at all. And every time I explain it to people, they just stare at me like, that's not a real thing. But I've seen it and it's a real thing. So for those of you in cyberspace that don't know what I'm talking about, thank you. Muscle testing. What happens is your body is, and if you can explain it better, then do it. But your body is like naturally predisposed and stuff to certain things that cause issues, right? And so what this woman does is she has these little tiny vials of like very concentrated, whatever it is, orange, apple, lemon, raspberry, pet dander, like just chemicals, food colorings, like all these different things. And she has these vials. And so what she does is she touches this metal, it's like a metal wand, touches it to that. And then on the other side of that metal wand, which like creates the conduction loop, is another wand. And so my child holds the wand and she touches it to each of the different things. And if my child can keep their arm straight out, and so like keep, with as much strength as you can, keep your arm, outright out to your side of your body. And she's just going to push down on it. And all she does is just touch a new thing, push down, touch a new thing, push down, touch a new thing, push down. And if the child or person doesn't have any issue with it, then they're able to fully resist her gentle pushing down. And if there's some kind of imbalance in your body and you're unable to do that, your arm will go down, which didn't make any sense to me, except that she did it to me. So my youngest is not quite 4, and she wasn't sure that she'd be able to get an accurate reading. And so she had me touch my daughter.
Yep.
And then she used my arm.
Yep.
Because I was like the proxy. I completed the circuit.
Yep.
But like I kept my arm out as strong as I could, as much as I could. Nothing was different except that, the one compound was touched, and that's an issue, one of the things she has issues with. And so she goes through with all these different compounds and finds all the different issues that my child has or anybody has. And what she said is that your energy field, which is, out in front of your body, like around your body, your allergy response starts to activate when the allergy is all the way like outside of your energy field. And so before you even can breathe it, it's over here, it's still affecting your energy field, and then it starts to affect you. And so what she does then is she creates, or she adds like compounds. So the whole process is she goes through, does all the muscle testing, sees which compounds the kids have issues with. And then she adds, I don't know what they are, like things, different vials that are like boosting agents. Let's say my kid has a problem with carrots. She puts the carrot vial in a little pouch. She adds the boosting agents, and then we do the muscle testing again. And if it's still weak, she adds another boosting agent or 2. And then once it's strong, she keeps that little pouch of, vials attached to the child's arm for like 15 minutes. She just tapes it to their arm, does a little bit of acupuncture on their hands right here and on the tops of their feet. And if your child is too young, she uses lasers. But she just activates those acupuncture points with those compounds inside of your energy field. And then it retrains your body so that you no longer are allergic to that thing. It doesn't bother you anymore. And so instead of taking my kids to kind of Western doctors and like, oh, let's do a bunch of blood tests and let's do a bunch of shots and let's change all their eating habits and everything, it was like, look, this is the problem with your child. Okay, let's just fix their body so it's not a problem anymore. So bring them in, and there are a couple things that they've had to see her twice for the same thing, but usually it takes like one session to counteract whatever that one thing is, and then they're good. It might flare up another like a year from now or 2 years from now or 6 years from now, and they might have to go back in and do one more session and kind of like clear it away, and it's gone. But like things like that, I like to lean towards the side that's less invasive, less chemical, less, all of that.
Well,
So
and more sustainable, not to mention, because
yes,
you're getting to the root of the problem.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, muscle testing is fantastic. You can use it for so many things. And,
it's
whether
weird though, right?
it's real, well, it is weird, except also it's like, okay, so my unconscious, AKA that is like represented by my physical body,
Right,
must have all this knowledge. I mean, it has the perfect knowledge to know what nutrients I need to keep and what I need to excrete to keep my heart beating, to have everything in
right,
perfect balance. It knows everything. And so
right,
the idea is just like every answer, which I think, religion tells us this too, any spirituality. It's like every answer is inside of you. How do you access it? And there's definitely a lot to do with practice and trust with that, but it sounds ridiculous, but it's also like, well, if my body knows how to keep my whole system perfectly regulated, my
yeah,
body knows what I'm allergic to, like,
yeah,
so that's really
yeah.
cool though. Your
That's a
kid,
good way to put it.
so you're kind of a fascinating case, I find, because you are, you know, like a more, I would think of it as, personally at least, like conventional religion. Maybe
Yeah,
that's not like a good word for it, but like you're such a cool mix to me of this sort of more traditional, conventional, conservative kind of aspect, like very much integrated with this, yeah, just open-mindedness, and also I mean, things like integrative medicine, literally,
yeah,
and being open to so much. So can you just like kind of speak to that? Because I feel like it's amazing.
yeah. So I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I joined the church in 2009 as an adult. I was raised Methodist, which was fine. And Methodism, I'm sure, works for tons of people, and it's great and it's fine. For me, I felt like Methodism was just like, sure, yeah, whatever, you'll be fine. Like, there's not really any set rules, and little things are a little bit wishy-washy, but like you'll just do the best you can and you'll probably be fine. And I felt like and then like we stopped going to church when I was a kid, maybe like when I was in middle school or high school. And then as an adult, I was married and divorced, and then um, dating a guy who grew up in the church, and he said, "Hey, you should check this out. It's really cool." And so I did, and I agreed, and I joined the church and was baptized, like I said, in '09. And I just felt like from the first moment I heard about it, it just kind of made sense. And it was like, oh, well, there are these, very black and white rules, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how things work, like the way. Another thing about the Methodist Church is like, you could go to one church and things be run one way, and go to another church and they be run totally differently depending on the minister or how they feel about the congregation or whatever. And our church is very structured, and so it doesn't matter if you're on the East Coast or the West Coast or in Europe or in Asia, in a teeny tiny little podunk nowhereville where you don't even have a church and you meet in like the school gym or whatever. It's all run the same, with all the same manuals, with all the same people in positions, with all the same everything. And so no matter where you are, if you're vacationing or whatever, I can just go to church there, and they're on the same lesson using the same manuals that I'm already studying, that I've already been using. It's just different people. And so that aspect, I really, really liked, that it was so organized and just made so much sense. And then, all the rest of it, when I read the Book of Mormon, it just spoke to me and it just made sense. And so I didn't have a problem joining the church. But I feel like because I joined the church later in life and had already been married and had already experienced tons of things, it's sort of, I have a different view than a lot of people who've been members of the church their whole life. Um, and so I sort of, I'm very strong in my beliefs, and My husband and I are very active in the church, but at the same time, I feel like there are other things not that aren't church related, that don't conflict. And so it just makes sense to explore those because, I don't have as narrow a viewpoint, I guess, as some. And so I just sort of like when I see something that kind of spikes my interest, I just kind of go that way and look into it and kind of learn about it. And then that thing leads to something else, and that leads to something else, and that leads to something else. And then I don't know, before you know it, I just kind of know random things about random things. I, look into conspiracy theories, and I'm learning about integrative medicine, and I'm learning about, you know, energy work, and I'm learning about, you know, just different things than, some of my either I've been looking a lot into like sexuality and, kind of investigating that within my marriage and realizing that like that's not something really that a lot of my friends talk about like at all. And it's like, well, why not? Like I was talking to she's she's a sex coach. And I was talking to her and I was saying like she's like on the West Coast. And I was saying like we need people like you out on the East Coast. Like I don't know anybody like you that just speaks openly and frankly and genuinely about sex and about bedroom stuff and about like all of that. It's just there's no reason for it to be so taboo. Like there are so many marriages in the church and outside the church that are unhappy and the divorce rate is so high. And it's like, why don't we talk about sex? Like it's not a big deal. Clearly, lots of people on the planet are doing it.
Right.
So why don't we like make it better and more enjoyable and have the open communication between spouses and between friends and like, oh, that works for you, that doesn't work for you. Like a friend of mine and I were joking about she's like, I have all these different toys and stuff in the bedroom and like they didn't work for me. Like I used them once and they didn't work. And what do I do with them now? I just like they just sit there. Like I just wasted all that money. Like there should be a way to like clean them and share them and reuse them. And I was like, oh, we should do that. We should come up with some kind of like toy swapping app or something. Like there's got to be a way to like clean them.
Totally
like,
a thing.
There's no reason for them to just sit there and be useless. But like, there's just things like that. So I've been looking at that kind of stuff and like, my husband and I have been, kind of exploring different things and just learning different things and wanting to learn different things. And just our marriage has never been happier or healthier, especially in the bedroom. And it's just, I have so many friends that I just wish I could just be like, hey, let's just talk about this. But it's like, it's awkward. And, I don't know what they would think. And it's like, why does that matter? Like, we don't need to be crass about it. We don't need to like be vulgar. We don't need to be, sharing pictures or being graphic, but like general things, like let's talk about it. There's no reason for it to be so taboo.
Right. Well, I think, I mean, the core of how I'm like connecting kind of what I ask you to what you're talking about is I think that it is a beautiful, again, like integration to be able to say, I have these definitive like rules and values in my life that provide this foundation and this structure.
Right.
And like being open-minded and openly communicative about things is actually like can fit together with that. Like it's not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Be able to communicate and talk more about it and explore different things and also have like these foundational things. For instance, like it's very important in your church, right, to not have sex outside of marriage and only have sex with your partner. But why should that mean that you can't explore other sexual experiences and talk more openly about it? But like people get scared that if you start to talk about it and explore, that's going to like defile that I feel like that foundation people are afraid is going to be defiled.
Yeah. And I mean, Heavenly Father, put us on this earth to experience all the things that can be experienced. Our sexuality with our partner is one of those things. And so like, it shouldn't be like, I feel shameful because, whatever, like he created us, he gave us free will, he put us here, he said, do what you want with your spouse. So go for it. Like there's nothing wrong with it. Have fun, enjoy each other.
So what are some of the, and I think based on our conversations that we've had about this, that you haven't been working with this sex coach for that long. But what are some of the, I don't know, like what's something that's come to light or something exciting that, has kind of come out of that?
So the only exciting thing that kind of has come out of that is I said to my husband, like, this is a genius thing. And he was like, well, why don't you become one? It's like, oh,
Oh, I just got goosebumps. That could be
hmm.
so cool for your community.
So I asked her today, I was like, look, I know this is kind of weird, but like, how did you get to where you are? And how do I do that? Because there needs to be more people like you, like, because she is an LDS sex coach. And like, there just aren't that many around. There's plenty of sex coaches and they're like, do great things for great people, but it's just not quite the same as, the way that we look at things. And so I said to her, like, how did you do it? Is it cool? Like, explain it to me. And so she said, like, it's not easy and it was crazy expensive and it took all this, time and everything. But I said, well, if you ever need, like, if you want to expand
Practice.
your reach, and talk to somebody on the East Coast, like, I might be your girl. And she told me like the coaching school that she went to and all that kind of stuff. So I said, like, well, I'm going to talk to my husband about it. It is a lot of work and it is a lot of time. But right now she does have great courses. And I'm sure that we'll take, one of those in the future. She also has a great podcast. Her name is Amanda Louder, if you want to look her up.
Amanda Louder.
And so, but in lieu of, becoming a sex coach, you and I were talking, I've been really thinking about creating a YouTube channel just to kind of like, I don't think that I'm anybody special. I don't think that there's anything uniquely remarkable about me, but I feel like because I know random things about random things, I can kind of do the heavy lifting for others and just kind of like, hey, this is what I know, and make a video about it. And so I've been thinking about creating a YouTube channel that's just me being me with my name and like nothing fancy. And if people want to watch, cool. And if they don't, that's cool too. And then maybe making it a podcast, but that I think would be a platform to start to destigmatize some of this stuff that doesn't need to be like addiction.
Mm-hmm.
One of the so part of the way the church works is that you're assigned a calling, which is basically like a job within the church. The way that our church works is nobody is paid, like nobody. Every position held within the church is a volunteer position. And those volunteer positions are brought about because, the higher ups prayed about it and asked you to please do that thing, whether that's teaching Sunday school or running the church or, overseeing a group of people for whatever reason. And anyway, so my husband and I run the addiction recovery program, which is, online right now. It's on Sunday nights. But one of the things that we've been doing since we started running the program is we've been traveling to each of the different churches in the area to kind of like let everybody know that it's there, that it's for everybody, that it doesn't matter what you're addicted to, whether it's, my husband jokes, like, you can be addicted to counting blades of grass. Like, it doesn't matter what your addiction is, and he also talks about like the wheel of addiction. You can be, not everybody's a cokehead, but maybe you were overeating and then you stopped overeating and then you started drinking soda and then you stopped
Right.
drinking soda and you eat too many breath mints, or then you stop eating the breath mints and you watch too much TV. Like, everybody can be addicted to something. And there are so many programs out there, especially the one that we run, that are underutilized because everybody just thinks, oh, I don't want to be seen there, or I don't want to come, or, people will know. It's like, who cares? They'll know that you have an issue that you're working on. That's admirable. That's nothing to be ashamed of or to hide from. So
Amen.
he runs the group for the people that are struggling with the addictions themselves. And I run the group for those that are affected. So like the support group. So the parents, the friends, the loved ones, the aunts, the uncles, whoever. And so it's just another thing. Like we just need to remove the stigma, because especially with all the online stuff, there are so many people struggling with so many things, and it's just so closeted, and just they're not getting the help that they need. And that's ridiculous because it's there and it's, available. So
I
anyway,
well, I did not know that. And I mean, I think that that's absolutely beautiful because first of all, we're all addicted to something, like on some
right.
spectrum, as far as I'm
Yes.
concerned.
Uh-huh.
So it then becomes more about making it something again that we can openly talk about. And then, that's how people get connected to community. That's how people get connected to resources, to larger meaning, larger purpose. These are the things that actually, I feel like heal the root problems of addiction, some of which I would say are like disconnection and meaninglessness, like hopelessness.
Yep.
And I really hope that you do start your own YouTube channel, as you know that I've already told you.
I think I'm gonna.
Yes.
Maybe don't publish this video for a couple weeks, and maybe I'll have it working
We
by
can
then.
link to it.
Check the description box. Make sure you subscribe and like it.
Seriously, because it's, yeah, okay. But it's just, that really is like a goal of mine. In, maybe it's like underplayed and kind of underlying, but that it's like, it's not that I'm anyone special either. It's that we all have, as it is, in the church, a calling. We all
Yep.
have a story. We all were given these specific stories to tell and lives to live. And you just never know. You never know who you're going to help. But I'm definitely sure that you help yourself by actually like having this feeling that your story is worth telling.
Yeah. Well,
So
and really, it's just if nothing else, it'll be a way for me to save time, because there are things that like people ask
yes.
and I won't have to repeat it many times. I'll just make a one-shot video, explain the thing, and then when they ask, I'll just say, here's the video. Just watch it yourself. Like I mastered sourdough bread over this whole quarantine situation. And so people ask me all the time, like, how do you make your sourdough? It's like, it's a really long process. It's kind of detailed, but now I'll just make a video. Be like, there you go. You want to know? Here it is. Go watch the video. Good luck.
That is so, yeah, everything from sourdough bread to tips about addiction to book reviews
A
to
wide
sex.
array
No,
of things.
seriously, you are. That is totally you. I mean, I've already, yeah, I think this video is a good example of that. Like the things that we have touched on and that I've learned about just in this
kind of
short time
all over the place.
is absolutely perfect. So, well, I'll just ask you sort of one last question. As someone who clearly is, a lot of your life is based around relationships, whether like with your husband, your kids, your church, like, I don't know, what's some relationship advice that is really kind of powerful? Or maybe, I mean, I guess your relationship with yourself too, but whatever kind of comes up, some powerful relationship advice that's really sustaining you right now.
The first thing that comes to mind is just honesty. Like my husband had been married before, I had been married before. And so when we met, it was like we just put our cards on the table and it was like, look, here's where I am, here's who I am. If you like it, cool. If you don't, cool. I'll go find somebody else. And that's like really how our relationship started. It was like, completely open, completely honest from the very, very beginning. And so, I read things online. The majority of stuff I do on Facebook is within different groups, whether it's a homeschool group or whether it's a church group or, a parenting group or, whatever. And so I don't really do much of the like, what's going on with my friends on a daily basis, but it's more about, how can I improve? How can I learn? What's going on in these groups that I like, that I find value in? And all the time I see people just struggling with I don't know what to do about this, or I don't know what to do with my husband, or I'm confused or unsure or whatever. It's like the answer is always just, well, be honest about it.
Yeah.
If you're struggling, talk to him about it. Like, why would you keep that a secret? Like, go and chat and communicate. And like, somebody's talking the other day about like, how do you actually do that? I mean, like, do you have each other's passwords and you like read each other's email and stuff? Like, how does that even work when you're like open and honest and stuff? It's a whole new concept. It's like, well, yeah, we know each other's passwords, but we don't like look at each other's email. I have access to his email. He has access to mine. If there's, whatever, like a flight itinerary that I know is in his email, I'll go open up his email, find the flight itinerary, print it out, or email it to myself or whatever, and move on. I don't look for the things I'm not supposed to be looking for, but it just makes life so much easier to just know that there are absolutely no secrets, and that when he comes home after work, he can tell me what's going on with his day. I tell him exactly what's going on with my day. There are some days, he had a bad day, or he made some bad choices, or I did the same thing. And it's like, but the longer you sit on them, the worse it's going to get. And so I feel the same way with, like relationships with my family, relationships with my friends. Like, I don't like to, it's like back to that anxious feeling. I don't like the uncomfortableness in life when you're trying to keep secrets. It doesn't make sense to me. And so for me, I want to be direct. I want to be honest. I want to tell people how it is. When I was in high school, I like narked on somebody because like I couldn't keep the secret. I didn't like knowing that they were, using drugs and were going to hurt themselves. And so I told my mom, she told his mom. It was a big problem in high school for me, but that's okay. The point is, honesty was really like, I mean, I called my aunt out because I didn't think she was parenting her child right when I was like 21 or something. Just like wrote her a letter and was like, look, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like, this isn't cool. And so I don't know. I just feel like honesty is the best place to start and the best place to work from. And as long as you're being honest and they're being honest, it can be worked out, it can be worked through, it can be built upon, it can be, you know, just can just grow. But without the honesty, good luck.
Yes. Well, and that goes right back to like being connected to resources. Like without the honesty, like how are you going to improve? And it's kind of like I always say, when I talk to people who are struggling with something and they're able to like observe it and say what it is, it's like, well, dude, that's the biggest step. Like you may not have the solution and the answers yet, but the fact that you're willing to see that and be honest about it
Yeah.
is, and I mean, I've said that to you since we first started talking. Like there's just this total frankness about you and candor and directness that for me, as someone who's a recovering people pleaser, and definitely like literally Mandy would have thought it was like a skill of mine to be able to initiate relationships by being like, oh, I can tell everything that will make this person comfortable and that they want to see and want to hear, and I can be that for anyone.
Yeah.
Like thinking that that was doing them a favor. And but I think the saddest part is what that was doing to like the little, if you will, the inner child, like the real me, my
Right.
soul, my spirit, who I was basically saying like, you don't ever get to show that to people. It's better to not be honest and make everybody else feel comfortable, because sometimes honesty is uncomfortable.
That's for sure.
Yeah. And or as Carolyn Elliott would say, high sensation. Like there's a lot of sensations that come up sometimes
True.
when we're actually like showing what's up. So that's really good advice. I'm sure that I'm very sure now that in whatever experiences are about to come to me in life, like there's going to be a flash of like, just be honest, and then I have the choice. So
Yep.
hopefully I'll make the right one.
And if you don't, you've always got time to fix it. It's not like,
That's
it's
what we're
always
here
time to redo it.
Yes. Okay. Well, I am so glad that we got to have this first divine dialogue, and as I feel like I say with everyone that I've interviewed, because they're all so amazing. Like, I hope that this is the first of many, because I just think recording candid conversations like this is a really beautiful thing. And I'm really like blessed to know so many fantastic, brilliant, real, mostly women so far.
Yeah.
I've interviewed.
We're the better sex anyway.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
thank you. Let's just put it out there. Just so whether I publish this before you start your YouTube channel or later, I will come back and amend the about section and have a link to it, because I think you're
accountability.
So
apparently I'm doing it. I'm really doing it then.
You're already doing it. Like, this is going on YouTube.
You want to see more of this, come find me with better lighting. Yes. Much better lighting.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.
Sounds great.
Hey, bye.
Goodbye.